Welcome to this edition of News Today, a series where we briefly discuss and analyze important news of the day. Without delay, let's explore the headlines first. Union Ministry of Social Justice and Empowerment issued first equal opportunity policy for transgender persons. Union Law Ministry accepted the recommendation to establish regional benches of the Supreme Court. For the first time, CERN scientists carry out laser cooling of Positronium. Precision farming is the future of crop production, says Director General, Indian Council of Agricultural Research. National Green Tribunal highlighted inadequate addressing of arsenic and fluoride groundwater contamination. India has emphasized on cultural diplomacy. Starting with the first news. Union Ministry of Social Justice and Empowerment issued first equal opportunity policy for transgender persons. The policy has been issued in pursuance of Transgender Persons Protection of Rights Act 2019 and Transgender Persons Protection of Rights Rules 2020. Now let's start by first having a look at the key highlights of the policy. It will be applicable to all employees of the Ministry of Social Justice and Empowerment and its operations and will act as a guiding document for business partner workforce, interns and trainees. Its objective is to create an atmosphere ensuring fair treatment of transgender individuals, free from discrimination, harassment and bias, while establishing a robust grievance redress mechanism. Further, the policy statements emphasizes a non-discriminatory environment, explicitly prohibiting discrimination in all aspects of recruitment, appointment, and promotion based on gender identity. It underscores the importance of privacy and confidentiality, requiring explicit consent before disclosing gender identity information. Additionally, it commits to providing inclusive infrastructure and amenities, including unisex toilets and hygiene products, to support transgender individuals. A robust grievance redressal mechanism will be established to promptly address any instances of discrimination or harassment based on gender identity, ensuring a safe and enabling workplace for all. If we talk about the challenges faced by transgender persons, then these include social stigma and discrimination, suboptimal access to basic amenities like healthcare, education, and vulnerability to physical, verbal, and sexual abuse. At last, now let's have a look at the measures taken for welfare and empowerment of transgender persons. First is the National Council for Transgender Persons, which was established under Transgender Persons Protection of Rights Act 2019. Moreover, government has also taken several initiatives like Garima Grahe, which are shelter homes for transgender persons, National Portal for Transgender Persons to obtain certificate of identity and identity card without any physical interface, and Nalsa Judgment 2014, through which transgender persons were legally recognized as the third gender. Moving on to the next news. The Union Law Ministry accepted the recommendation to establish regional benches of the Supreme Court. Parliamentary Standing Committee on Personal, Public Grievances, Law and Justice informed Parliament about the acceptance of recommendations made for judicial reforms in its 133rd report. Talking about constitutional provisions on seat of Supreme Court, then Supreme Court shall sit in Delhi or in such other place as the Chief Justice of India may from time to time appoint with approval of the President mentioned in Article 130. Let's look at the Standing Committee recommendations on regional benches in the 133rd report. The Supreme Court may invoke Article 130 to establish its regional benches at 4 or 5 locations in the country. Interpretation of the Constitution and constitutional matters may be dealt with at Delhi, and regional benches may decide appellate matters. Lastly, the decision of appellate benches shall be treated as final. Now let us understand the need for regional benches. First and foremost, for improved access to justice, which is a fundamental right in 3 ways: taking justice to the doorsteps of common citizens, reduced cost of litigation, and overcoming language barriers and more. Secondly, it may provide a solution to the overflowing caseload of the judiciary, separating constitutional matters from appellate matters. Further, there are some challenges, like such regional benches may lead to conflicting interpretations of laws, undermining uniformity of the judicial system. Also, there are concerns related to impartial selection and assignment of judges and more. Further, Law Commission also gave recommendations on establishing regional benches of the Supreme Court in its 229th report. It said, Constitution Bench at Delhi to deal with constitutional and other allied issues. It also recommended that 4 cassation benches be set up in northern, southern, eastern and western regions to deal with all appellate work of the particular region. In other news, for the first time, CERN scientists carry out laser cooling of Positronium. An international team of physicists from anti-hydrogen experiment, gravity, interferometry, spectroscopy is a collaboration that has achieved this breakthrough. It is one of several experiments at CERN's antimatter factory with the goal of direct measurement of Earth's gravitational acceleration on anti-hydrogen. It is a collaboration of physicists from several countries in Europe and from India. Before delving into the details of Positronium, let's take a look at some facts on the European Council for Nuclear Research, also known as CERN. Founded in 1954, it is located on the Franco-Swiss border near Geneva. It has 23 member states and India is an associate member. Its mission is to uncover what the universe is made of and how it works. Now you must be curious about what is positronium. Discovered in 1951, it is the lightest known atom consisting only of electron and positron. It has a very short lifetime, annihilating into gamma rays in 142 billionths of a second. Because it comprises just 2 point-like particles, the electron and its antimatter, it's perfect system for experiments under anti-hydrogen experiment, gravity, interferometry, spectroscopy, provided it can be cooled enough to measure it with high precision. Lastly, let's learn about matter and antimatter. Matter comes in many forms: solids, liquids, gases, and plasmas, consisting of subatomic particles that give them mass and volume. Subatomic particles include protons and neutrons, also known as baryons, electrons and neutrinos, also known as leptons, and other particles. All subatomic particles either have their own anti-twins like antiquarks, antiprotons, antineutrons, and antileptons, such as anti-electrons, and some subatomic particles also straddle between matter and antimatter. Antiparticles can combine to form antiatoms and, in principle, could even form antimatter regions.
Moving on to the next news. Precision farming is the future of crop production, said the Director General, Indian Council of Agricultural Research. The Director General has made the observation in the inaugural session of the National Seminar on the Smart Technologies for Sustainable Agriculture and Environment. Talking about the precision farming, it is a farm management approach utilizing information technology to optimize crop and soil conditions for the maximum productivity. The precision farming aims to manage and distribute inputs on a site-specific basis. Now let us have a look at the components of precision farming. Those include GPS and GIS, auto steer, wireless telematics, variable rate technology or VRT, artificial intelligence, remote sensing, data collection and analysis, and lastly, yield monitors. Further, let's understand the impacts of precision farming. It improves yields on farms and thus helps in the profitability of agriculture. It further enables making strategic decisions on crop management aspects. It additionally reduces the application of crop inputs such as fertilizer, herbicide, fuel, and water. Lastly, it provides environmental benefits like reducing fertilizer runoff in waterways. The precision farming also faces various challenges. Those include high cost and complexity of the technologies involved, absence of uniform standards, and lastly, concerns regarding farm data sharing and ownership. To overcome those challenges, the government has taken several initiatives for increased use of technology in farming. These are the Digital Agriculture Mission 2021 to 2025, which encourages and speed up the projects based on cutting-edge technologies like artificial intelligence. The National E-Governance Plan in Agriculture, which helps to infuse modern information technologies in the farm sector. Lastly, the AgriStack, which is a digital foundation being set up by the government. In our next news, National Green Tribunal highlighted inadequate addressing of arsenic and fluoride groundwater contamination. Let us first understand about why it is a news. National Green Tribunal had taken suo motu cognizance of the matter based on the Central Groundwater Board or CGWB report. As per the CGWB report, arsenic was reported in 230 districts in 25 states and fluoride was reported in 469 districts in 27 states. Now let us have a look at the impacts of these contaminations. Fluoride can cause dental fluorosis, skeletal fluorosis, non-skeletal fluorosis, and can also induce aging. Arsenic causes skin depigmentation, bronchitis, and skin, lung, bladder, and liver cancer. Moreover, it has several other adverse health effects which includes dermatological, neurological, respiratory, cardiovascular, immunological, and endocrine impacts. The Bureau of Indian Standards has mandated the maximum permissible limit for arsenic to be 0.01 mg per liter and for fluoride 1.0 mg per liter. Further coming on to the reasons for arsenic and fluoride contamination, the weathering of minerals followed by the subsequent leaching and runoff, anthropogenic activities such as mining and overexploitation of groundwater acts as the reason for arsenic contamination. And the breakdown of rocks and soils and deposition of atmospheric particles acts as a reason for fluoride contamination. Several initiatives have also been taken for improving the quality of water in India. Those include the Jal Jeevan Mission, which provides potable tap water supply to every rural household. Central Groundwater Board generates data on groundwater and monitor its quality. Lastly, the Ministry of Jal Shakti has issued guidelines for the control and regulation of groundwater extraction. In our next news, we will be talking about India's emphasis on the cultural diplomacy. Recently, sacred relics of Lord Buddha and his two disciples, Arahata Sariputra and Arahata Maudgalyayana, have been displayed in Thailand. Also, India handed over a list of 70 selected documents to Oman pertaining to Oman that are available in the National Archives of India. The above developments are exemplification of India's cultural diplomacy. Now let's understand what is cultural diplomacy. Cultural diplomacy is the exchange of ideas, information, art, language, and other aspects of culture among nations and people to foster mutual understanding. Cultural diplomacy holds a vital significance for India. As it is an important dimension of India's soft power, it is a way to prevent conflict and promote peace. For example, the Kartarpur corridor to create goodwill with Pakistan. It also acts as an instrument in regional and international cooperation. For example, the joint commemoration of 150th birth anniversary of Rabindranath Tagore's by India and Bangladesh. Lastly, it also promotes India's tangible and intangible cultural heritage, for example, yoga, classical dances, religious tourism. Cultural diplomacy in India also faces several challenges. These include the inadequate financing and lack of coordination among various institutions engaged in the conduct of cultural power projection acts as a challenge. Shortage of skilled manpower in Indian missions and posts abroad further adds to the concern. Additionally, the lack of clarity on the mandate of the Indian Council for Cultural Relations poses a challenge. And lastly, the absence of a national policy on the projection of cultural soft strengths acts as a hindrance. The personality in news for today is Sant Ravidas. Recently, the Prime Minister has unveiled the statue of Sant Ravidas on his 647th birth anniversary. Sant Ravidas was a poet, philosopher, and a social reformer during the 15th century. He was a prominent Bhakti saint of Nirgun Sampradaya in northern India. He is also considered as the spiritual guru of Mirabai. Now let's have a look at his key contributions. He worked against the system of untouchability. His padas, devotional songs, and other writings have been mentioned in the Guru Granth Sahib compiled by 5th Sikh Guru Arjan Dev. Lastly, the Begumpura city was pioneered by him as a city without any sorrow and full of peace and humanity. He exhibited the values of compassion, social justice, egalitarianism, and humanism.
As we conclude today's main news, let's take a look at some quick updates. The Ministry of Information and Broadcasting launched 4 new media-related portals to streamline media-related services under its umbrella. The 4 new portals are Press Seva Portal for automation of the process for newspaper registration, Navigate Bharat Portal, single platform with an interactive user interface for government videos, National Register for local cable operators to streamline regulatory processes in the cable television sector in the future, Transparent Empanelment Media Planning and e-billing system for Central Bureau of Communication to enhance transparency and efficiency in media planning processes. The UK to leave outdated fossil fuel-friendly treaty, that is the Energy Charter Treaty. The Energy Charter Treaty provides a multilateral framework for energy cooperation that is unique under international law. It entered into legal force in April 1998. Currently, there are 53 signatories and contracting parties to the treaty. State Government of Odisha extends Krushak Assistance for Livelihood and Income Augmentation Scheme by 3 years. This scheme's objective is to provide financial assistance to small and marginal farmers, including sharecroppers, tenant farmers, and landless agricultural households in the state. At Raisina Dialogue 2024, India's Chief of Defence Staff talked about grey zone warfare. Grey zone warfare involves military actions which are below a particular threshold to invite a response. It seeks to exploit operational space between peace and war to change the status quo. Exercise Dosti 16 is the 16th biennial trilateral Coast Guard exercise between India, the Maldives, and Sri Lanka. Bangladesh is participating as an observer. Indian gharial spotted in Greater Kaziranga, Assam after a gap of 75 years. Indian gharial's major population occurs in three tributaries of Ganga River, Chambal and Girwa in India and Rapti Naraini in Nepal. Gharial reserves of India are located in three states which are Uttar Pradesh, Madhya Pradesh and Rajasthan. Their IUCN status is critically endangered. Climate and Clean Air Conference 2024 called for international collaboration to phase out short-lived climate pollutants. This conference is an annual meeting of the Climate and Clean Air Coalition, which is a partnership of over 160 governments and organizations committed to reducing short-lived climate pollutants. India hit the target of eliminating Kala Azar for the first time in 2023 by reporting less than one case per 10,000 population across all blocks. Kala Azar is also known as visceral leishmaniasis and is a protozoan parasitic disease. This disease is endemic in Bihar, Jharkhand, Uttar Pradesh and West Bengal. Before we go, it's time to put your knowledge to test in today's segment of Test Your Learning. Thank you for joining us. We hope you have enjoyed this edition of News Today. To get the answers to today's quiz and to download the PDF of News Today, make sure to check out the links in the description below.